The biggest thing to break down is that Tank Davis has said that he plans on retiring by the end of 2025. Now, when I first heard that, I'll admit, I was very, very shocked about that. And I wasn't quite sold that he's going to actually retire at that point in time, or if this is more of a negotiating thing because of something with PBC or something else along those lines, maybe just to hype up the fight and against Lamont Roach even more. I'm not 100% sold he's going to retire. However, that's what he said, so I have to discuss that now because the fact of the matter is that if Tank Davis decides to retire by 1 year from now, essentially in the end of 2025, unless 2025 holds a lot of big fights, and knowing Tank Davis's resume in terms of how often he fights, not a lot, sometimes maybe get 2 times a year, we already have one of them booked, Lamont Roach. Could next year be a 3-fight year for Tank Davis and then he walks away from boxing? Maybe. But if it is what we're looking at right now, it would be unfortunate from the standpoint that, listen, Tank Davis, in my opinion, is one of the most talented fighters in all the world. I think he's so talented that it would not shock me if he had the potential opportunity to be a top 5, top 3 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. I cannot put him in that group, though, because of the fact that he doesn't have the resume these other guys got. You look at the guys right now, Usyk, Inoue, Terrence Crawford, Beterbiev, Bivol, those type of guys, Canelo, they have a resume. Multiple division champs. You have undisputed champs in the mix there. All different kinds of things are going on with those guys. That's not what we're seeing currently taking place on Tank Davis's resume. And that's a problem. Where it's to the point even that if he were to retire today or even after the Lamont Roach fight, there's a legitimate question. Does Tank Davis even make the Hall of Fame? And for that, I don't think so. At this point in time, no. Yes, he's one of the most box office fighters of this generation. Yes, he's a very, very, very talented fighter, but you have to have the resume to become and have the name recognition that you want to have if you are Tank Davis. And when you look at his resume, it's not quite there yet. And so if Tank Davis decides to move on from boxing, and this is the final year that we're going to see him box, then at the end of the day, we will remember him as an incredible fighter, a box office fighter, but it would have to be an underwhelming career at the end of the day. There's no other way to put that, because the only reason I say this about Tank Davis is because I see how talented he is. But if you don't have the resume, I can't give you the attributes and the credit that you deserve for your career and place you in the high levels and rankings of boxing. And that goes for any sport. You have to have a resume behind you. It cannot just be this potential and an opportunity for talent in his name, but you have to go out there and prove it to people. And we've not seen that with Tank Davis. I want to give a flip side to this, though, because in an interview with Dan Canobbio, he gave a little bit of insight into why he might be retiring. And I'll give you guys 100% my truthful opinion on this. When he explained that, I honestly am 100% okay with him retiring if that's the case. He went into discussing how he wants to be able to go through therapy. He wants to become more humble, become a little bit softer so that he can be the right father for his daughters. And if that's his mindset, why he wants to step away from boxing, by all means, I'm all in for that for Tank Davis. I've got nothing against Tank Davis deciding to retire if it's for those reasons. Listen, at the end of the day, boxing is just a sport. He's more than made it financially. He's done it on all of the aspects. If that's what he wants to do and progress and move away from the spotlight, move away from boxing, I respect it 110%. I've got absolutely no problem with that. Obviously, that doesn't change my stance on his career and his resume, but I respect the heck out of that if that's what he decides to do and step away from boxing to become the best person and the best dad he possibly can be. So I've got zero problem with Tank Davis doing that. I'm glad he opened up on that as well. And I honestly respect that. I think we should commend that because that is admirable from him. Obviously, look at his past, whatever's gone on in that aspect, but people can change. And to see him recognize that right now and acknowledge what he wants to do to become a better person, I 100% respect Tank Davis for having that statement right there. So we'll see. Does he end up retiring at the end of 2025? I'm not quite sure yet. I can't give my official opinion on that because I just quite frankly do not know. And it would be a little bit shocking still if Tank Davis decides to retire in 2025 or at the end of 2025. But only time will tell there. And it depends. What is his resume going to look like throughout 2025? If he goes out there and defeats Shakur Stevenson next year, I mean, that makes his resume a lot better because now you're becoming a guy that's unified in the division. You've fought the guy that's the top guy that you've been kind of pinned against throughout the last few years now. That would be a mega fight for Tank Davis. So we'll see what ends up unfolding for him.